Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the That's Awesome podcast, a podcast where we look at why Iowa State awesome is truly awesome. And we have a special guest today, Emily Schrimpf. Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
So a little bit about Emily. Emily currently serves as a graduate teaching assistant in apparel, merchandising, and design within the department at Iowa State University. She is currently working on her master's degree in apparel, merchandising, and design with an entrepreneurship certificate. She graduated magna cum laude with a bachelor's of science in apparel, merchandising, and design with a primary emphasis in product development and a minor in entrepreneurial studies. Post completion of her educational endeavors, she has decided to chase her dreams of becoming a higher education teacher or a college professor. She has prior experience working as a product development intern with both LoveShack Fancy and Loeffler Randall in New York City. And she has on-campus experience with a number of organizations, including Trend Magazine, which is the student-run fashion magazine, the Iowa State Fashion Show, as well as participating in other educational organizations or professional organizations, such as the International Textile and Apparel Association, which we'll cover a little bit into the episode. So once again, Emily, thank you for joining us, and we're excited to delve into a little bit about you and your affiliation with Awesome.
As I am.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, first and foremost?
Yes, so I'm Emily. Nice to meet you and everyone who's watching. This is my first year in the graduate program. So I did my undergrad at Iowa State and loved the program so much that I decided to continue on with my studies here.
Sure. What made you pursue an interest or a career at Iowa State University?
Yeah, so when I was a senior in high school and I was having to do that whole college visit search that we are all very familiar with, I'm originally from Minnesota. So my parents are really helping guide me. I knew I didn't want a university where I was just going to be a number. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be able to connect with my professors and really have that welcoming environment. And so when I was touring Iowa State, I really found that. And when I first was joining college, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be doing. So I really wanted to go somewhere where I had a wide range of interests that I knew I had. I just wasn't set on which program I wanted to be a part of yet. So I really wanted that like home away from home where I was going to feel comfortable and be supported.
Mm-hmm. Where in Minnesota are you from, actually? I'm from Minnesota as well. So
Okay. I'm from White Bear Lake.
Okay. I'm from Waconia. And
okay.
I feel like we have similar outlooks on it. When I was actually looking at Iowa State too, I agree with you. I was looking for, a college that had, it was your typical college experience, like big numbers and stuff, or a big presence, I guess you could say, but they still care about you as if you're more than a number. You're a student and you're an aspiring professional. So I agree with you on that. And I think it's really interesting that you chose Iowa State that way. So why did you choose to study in apparel, merchandising, and design? So can you get a little bit into maybe what sparked that, I guess?
So when I first came into college, as I said, I had about zero idea exactly what I wanted to do. I grew up in an engineering family. So my parents are engineers. My sister is an engineer. I have aunts and uncles who are engineers. I have cousins. So I really came from a very large engineering family. So that's kind of what I knew. So when I first came to college, I was like, I love animals. Maybe I want to be a vet. Maybe I want to, do what the family does. Everyone else is good at it. I got to be good at it, right? So I thought maybe, engineering was going to be the path for me. But I also knew I had these more creative interests. So I've always been a very creative person. At my high school, they actually offered some fashion classes along with interior design. And I took both of those. So when my first semester, I was taking classes in that involved being a vet, engineering, interior design, And then I happened to take a fashion course. So I was taking the diversity course that we offer my first semester. And after I took that, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to commit to a program, because I was doing that open option, which was wonderful. They give you classes to help guide you also, where you like learn about all the different colleges. So after I took that course, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to commit. And so I went and scheduled an appointment with an advisor in the college. So I met with Chris Wise, and she laid out the different paths for me, because at that point I didn't know if I was going to do, design, merchandising, product development. I really didn't know what my calling was. I was just like, I really like the apparel industry. I think it's very interesting. And so after meeting with her, she walked me through all the different options. And product development is where I landed, thanks to her guidance, somewhere in the middle between merchandising and design. And I really found a home away from home in that program and my fellow students.
And how do you think that passion has grown throughout your 4 years at Iowa State? I know it's a long journey, and there was probably a lot of steps that you had to take, and a lot of maybe sidetracks, or speak a little bit about that.
Yeah. So obviously, as I've continued in the program, my passion has grown, because I've, fallen in love with education and wanted to continue on. But mainly it was just like the great professors we have and the projects that I really got to do. Like, I think a lot of the projects for me weren't just work. They were something I enjoyed, something I was very passionate about, that I didn't mind putting hours into, because I wanted to create a difference and I loved what I was doing. So I think through the projects and the professors and their guidance, I really, like, the passion just kept growing. With more education, the more you know about an industry, the more you care about it and want to make a difference and want to, have others have that same experience as you.
I agree. And when I talk with people a lot of the guests that come onto the show, whether it be other faculty members or other students that I've talked with, I see a trend in when students talk about these professors and the guidance that they give. I can really see that within AESHM, there's something more. There's something special about the student to teacher relationship that I think other schools may not be maximizing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely, so many professors I consider role models, people I look up to, people that I go to for guidance. And, with that, my biggest advice for any students that may be watching this is to reach out to those professors, because, be involved, ask the questions, because they really are great role models who want to help you succeed. So taking those opportunities, as you said, we are really blessed in this program with some really awesome professors who want to help you and want to help guide you. So they're very amazing. We're very blessed.
I agree, and that's very important as teachers. Looking up to them as role models, it's a very important thing. So through these 4 years of growth and all the steps that you've taken with it, how would you describe the transition that you took from undergraduate to graduate?
Yeah,
where you are now?
It's definitely a big transition. It's not a light one to go through, but as I said, you have so many professors who want to help you succeed. And I think that's one of the special things about our grad program, because undergrad and graduate school are very different. Undergraduate school, you're more learning about the ins and outs of that specific industry. And then when you go to grad school, you're more learning about academia and the academic industry, but applying those topics you learn from undergrad to academia. So it's a lot more of theories. You do a lot more reading, a lot more writing. So it's a very different transition, but one thing I really like about grad school is how open the discussions are. So a lot of classes, you get to do your readings for the week, and then you come to class and you get to discuss what you learned with all your other classmates. And, with the interesting times we're living in with COVID and how that's affecting the apparel industry, it made for some really unique conversations. It's really a time to have to think innovatively, and how is the industry going to change? It's never going to go away, but it's definitely going to change and alter. how it currently was running. So I love getting to think and like come up with new ideas with all my classmates.
That's awesome. And you said during your senior year, correct? You were ready to step into that that new realm, I guess you could say, of graduate education.
Yes. So I have always had like an inkling. I did the 2 internships, as you said, but I love school. I love projects. I know that's might look crazy to some people, but I really love school. I loved what I was doing. So my first semester, senior year, I started reaching out to some of my professors and was like, what made you want to do the graduate school? Can you tell me a bit more about like what graduate school would look like? How does that shape your future, like your profession? What does that look like to you? So by reaching out to them, I really found this calling. And then I got to meet with Dr. Fiore about, you know, the steps to get into graduate school and what that would look like. So then I took my GRE after meeting with her and got accepted into the program in my senior year.
Did you always have that interest in graduate education? I know personally, when I speak on graduate education, I have that thought that's in the back of my mind, and sometimes I worry that, you know, maybe I'm a little too late. And I'm a junior at Iowa State. It's not too late, correct?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not at all. I mean, as I was kind of like you, my junior, like it was in the back of my mind, but I wasn't 100% sure. And then so my senior year, when I was getting closer to graduation, I was like, well, Emily, this has always been a thought in your mind. It's like, you could be missing a great opportunity if I didn't take the time to research it and pursue it. So senior year, I finally like took it upon myself, reached out to some professors that I was close with and was like, I'm thinking about this. Like, what's your take on it? And I actually also, when I was doing my entrepreneurship minor, had a professor email me at the end of the semester and was like, have you ever considered going on to the graduate program? I think you would be an absolute great fit. And so that was kind of like the icing on the cake to also see someone outside of our program, like who didn't know I was thinking of this, reach out to me and be like, I think you should do this. So then I was like, yep, I am. I've applied. So it really just fell into place.
I think that's awesome. And, you know, it's not only about the educational aspect. It's also about how it rounds you out as a person. You get experience and you collaborate with peers and faculty members. There's a lot of steps to it. And I think it's important for students to know that graduate education isn't as bland as they may think it is. It's very complex and it's very exciting.
Yeah, I think exciting is a great term to use with describing it because we're in the fashion industry is a very fascinating industry. There's always something new to learn about, to research, to discuss with your fellow classmates and colleagues about what's happening with the industry. It's such an alive time. So it's never boring, for sure. Never boring.
I agree. And apart from your experience with your educational experience within the graduate program, you also participated in a number of on-campus student organizations or other groups that you were involved with. Like I mentioned at the beginning, you were with Trend Magazine, you were with the fashion show, and then transitioning into graduate school, you decided to participate in ITHA. So can you speak a little bit about each of those and maybe how they sparked some passion into you?
Yeah. So I think I'll speak about Trend first. So I did Trend like when I was first just got into the program because it's such an easy program to join, to see like all the different careers out there, to meet so many different people who are in your program. So Trend's such a great, and it's meets once a week. You can make friends, you can go with your friends, and it just gives you that like kind of creative, especially for people who are more interested in the like magazine industry or even other colleges like graphic design, journalism, marketing. It has a place in the Trend magazine. So you get to meet people who just really have that same passion as you. And the interesting thing about Trend that I think Iowa State's really special for is that's one of the largest student-run magazines in the USA. So it's a great thing to be a part of, to, you know, put that on your resume. And then actually being a part of it and getting to, you know, style for shoots, do that trend forecasting. It's kind of putting those skills you learn in the classroom to use, especially for a lot of the merchandising students who are doing like this trend forecasting, or if they want to be a stylist, it's giving you stuff to put in your portfolio that you did outside of class, and you have complete creative control over it. So it's a very hands-on way to get that real world experience. And I kind of feel the same way with the fashion show. So the fashion show, I worked with gallery and display. So I was a committee member, and then I was a director for the gallery and display committee, which, you know, some people like product development, gallery and display, which gallery and display is making all the cases that you see. We also set up like the mounted displays at the fashion show. So, you know, product development that not necessarily had to do with my position there, but that's also kind of why I love the fashion show. You get to do things outside of just what you're learning. And again, it's a very collaborative environment with so many different majors. And I think it's one of those things that students need to have, because you go into the industry and you're working with so many different people who have different interests, different viewpoints. And you get that through the fashion show. You are working by yourself. You have to learn how to maintain a budget, but you're all working towards this huge goal, which is the fashion show. So it's, again, an amazing experience. I might sound like a broken record saying that, but I think they're very easy to join. You get credit for doing it. You apply. I think every student who has an interest should 100% shoot for it and do it, because it really expands that portfolio. And I think for some students, their passion may not be in the classroom, but by getting these hands-on experience, they can find that passion there and be like, okay, maybe one day I want to, you know, make different display cases, whether that's for a fashion show or for a company. We see display cases everywhere, and it's really giving them that like control to do it themselves and manage that budget, which looks great on a resume or portfolio as well.
I agree.
And the ITHA Conference I did. So I got to be a part of 3 different things for that. So I'll give a quick rundown on them. First of all, it was an amazing conference. We had to do it virtually this year. So it was a bit unique and different, but nevertheless, it was very cool to be a part of and see how many different aspects of the industry people are researching and changing. So the first thing I got to be a part of was, it started in a class in my undergrad. It was looking at masks. So this was before, you can't even imagine, before the pandemic even happened, and we were researching masks. So I think that's, looking back, it's like, really cool. Yeah, it's so crazy, because you know, we're doing it and you don't we didn't realize the importance, and then the pandemic hit and you're like, oh my gosh, like what we were researching and developing is so important. So what we researched for the face masks is that when we think about these single-use face masks, they're not very good for the environment. Most people wear them for like 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes, especially when you're looking at a hospital setting, because you wear it, you take it off, you replace it. And so we were really looking into how can we make those more sustainable, because they're getting thrown away, they don't last very long, you can't use them more than once for the like medical grade ones. And then we were also looking at the comfort of it. We all have different size faces, different features, whether it's like our ear placement, the sides of our nose, how different things fit and hug your face. And then with a face mask, it's really important to have a good fit, because or your air is that you're breathing in can like seep through. So we ended up researching how can we make them last longer. So we used a sleeve that you can extend the life, which you may kind of see. It's kind of the same concept that we're now seeing of masks that you can put filters in. So that's kind of what we were researching, is, you know, adding fabric to make that mask last longer. And then we also looked at, you know, how can we make them more adjustable. So we came up with like a headband with the buttons on it, but there's like 3 different buttons above your ear and 3 different ones behind your ear. And the mask has 2 loops, so that you can adjust like how high you want it, and same with the bottom, so that it can better fit your nose and your chin by adjusting that. And then we kind of just changed the overall shape of it to have some more curvature to it to hug your face a bit better. Um, and then the second research project I did was about swimsuits and shapewear. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about Skims, which is really a huge movement. We had Spanx, and now Skims is really coming into the industry. And shapewear is a huge industry for apparel. It makes so much money. And we were kind of thinking with that, it was for a product development class, like, where is that gap? It was for my senior capstone project. And one of the most, revealing garments that females have to wear out in public is swimsuits. And, that can be a really hard experience for a lot of people if they don't have a certain type of body type, or they just don't feel supported by their swimwear. So we researched how adding shapewear to swimwear could better support the consumer needs, and how there's like a gap there, and how people need to have that confidence and deserve to feel comfortable and confident in whatever they're wearing. And then the last thing I was a part of at ITHA was a panel about student-run fashion shows, which was a super amazing opportunity. So I got to work with a bunch of different industry professionals, people from London, from colleges all over the US. And we ran a panel that other people in attendance at the conference could come to. So we each presented on our college's fashion shows, which Iowa State, as I said, has a super amazing fashion show. We're very blessed. So I got to present on that fashion show. And then people who came in got to ask questions, and I was there to provide that student perspective. So, what does a fashion show mean to students? Why is it important for students to have this opportunity? So that was a really great thing to be able to, talk to fellow colleagues and professors about how important this actually is for students. And even though during COVID, it can be a bit tough, fundraising for it can be even harder, but how important it really is to continue having those fashion shows for not just our design students, but for, the merchandising, the product development, and every single college that is involved. That it really is a great opportunity.
I can't say enough, or I can't really put it into words. I can see it when you speak about it, and I can hear it in your voice that these things matter, and that these things are extremely relevant and impactful to you. And I think students listening who may have an interest in some of these organizations, they're going to take that to heart. So I think it was very well said. And a lot of these, opportunities are they're one step away. You just need to go for it. And yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, you put in what you get out, especially with, activities outside of just your classes. So taking those extra steps can really impact your college career. So anyone on the fence about it, just do it. Don't overthink it, just go and do it. It really will change your college experience for the better.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Transitioning a little bit into back to you a little bit. With your master's degree in AMD, you also are pursuing entrepreneurial studies and a certificate, correct? Where do you hope to take that in the future? With everything else that you have in mind.
Yeah, so I hope to teach entrepreneurship one day. If anyone knows Dr. Neem, she is a great role model and kind of has influenced this life choice here, their goal that I'm shooting for. So I got my minor in entrepreneurship, and I also took Dr. Neem's entrepreneurship and human sciences course, which is pretty sure required for merchandising and product development students, or maybe not product development. I've just done it for my minor, but it's a really amazing course, and that kind of sparked my drive to want to continue shaping this and how important it really is for the industry. So I've always had a bit of an interest in entrepreneurship, and I'm blessed to go to Iowa State, where we have now the new building built to focus on entrepreneurship. We have the minors. There is such a huge focus on entrepreneurship at Iowa State, which that's not the case at every single school. So we are so blessed to have that, and especially having an apparel program that cares about entrepreneurship and can see its value. So that's really what I'm focusing on, or what I'm thinking of focusing on at the moment, is apparel and entrepreneurship. Because when we think about it, our fashion industry is a business.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk about, how creative and, gifted and skilled you can be, but you also have to understand the business side of things. The fashion industry is one of the biggest businesses out there. When you look at the list of people who are billionaires, you might be surprised by how many of them own some type of apparel company. There's a lot of them. And so it's like I just want to continue that thought process to our apparel students, because you can learn how to make things, but you have to know how to sell them,
Mm-hmm.
or you're not going to be successful. So taking those ideas that you have, knowing how to market them, usually we learn how to make target markets, but then diving a bit deeper into that and, looking at the finance behind it, and also thinking like a big part of entrepreneurship is, can you think innovatively? So when you make these clothes, is there a need for it in the market? Like, how are you going to sell that? What makes you different than the next designer out there? So what I really am focusing on researching is, how can entrepreneurship education impact design students and their success? Because even when you go and work for a company, you may think like, okay, well, they have people who are going to handle the business side of the company for me, but you still need to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can make designs and have your ideas heard, and just be successful in general. So I'm really interested in entrepreneurship and how that can impact the apparel industry.
Do you hope to manifest it into a business someday?
I've debated that. Right now, my passions for sure are, becoming a professor, but the world's always changing. You never know
Sure.
what's going to happen or what I'm going to feel tomorrow. But right now, my goal is to just be a professor and impact students how I've been impacted by our program here, to kind of continue that. But, I do think about like, one day if I'm able, like how fun it would be to have my own business and,
Mm-hmm.
get to open one and, sell clothes and, apply all what I'm preaching to my life. So that definitely is on the radar of like someday.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool to do. But right now I am just focusing on that, wanting to be a professor.
And I totally understand your perspective on it. You have so much time, and I think it's important for students to realize also that they don't have to make a decision now. They have a lot of time to figure things out, and some things just fall into place.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think a lot of students graduate college and they are looking for that, like a job, or like, they're trying to find that dream right then and there. And that's really not the case for, I don't know, 99% of people. You usually don't just graduate and land it right away. So, and I think a lot of our design students who come into the program with the idea of wanting to have their own label or brand someday, which is also very important to have that business education in order to start that. But sometimes you have to start elsewhere. Maybe you have to work a couple of years in the industry to get the capital to start your own business. But I think that's very important to note that your dreams don't have to just be in your 20s or your 30s. They can be achieved in your 50s or your 60s. Like, I think it's very important to not put a timeline on those dreams, but not to lose them, and to give yourself the skills you need to someday achieve them.
I agree. Well said. How do you believe AESHM is preparing the next generation of students? And you can use some of your examples, or just some things you observed within AESHM during your 4 years and your current experience in our graduate program.
Yeah. So I think that is a really amazing question. And I think when you're first in the program, you don't quite realize how blessed we are to be in the AESHM program and how recognized our program is, until you maybe get into grad school and you can see like, how many people actually that come from other schools to come to Iowa State, or travel to come here if they're from like California or wherever, to come to our school to do the apparel program. We are so blessed with the wide range of classes that are offered. You can study so many different things. And then, me, a bit biased, how we value entrepreneurship. So our college really takes pride in that and works towards giving students that opportunity, whether it's through encouraging students to take that minor or having them get in touch with Dr. Neem. We also do like different pitch contests. We have like an entrepreneurship showcase. So we are very blessed to have a program that cares not just about one thing and really works on setting us up with so many different skills in order to be successful, which I think is so important because, as I mentioned, it's a really fast-paced industry. So you need to have a fast-paced college and fast-paced professors who are willing to learn new things, learn how to teach it, so that they are sending you out into the industry with the skills you need. And even if they're ahead of the curve, like, we've been teaching Colito, which has really just been introduced to the industry and more companies are starting to pick it up. But all our students are prepared to have that so they can put it on the resume and be like, yeah, I already know how to use it, which that's such a blessing that we have this college that cares about us and wants us to be so successful. And then my other thing we mentioned a bit was our professors. We have such amazing professors who truly care about you, who are very relatable, and they want to help you out. So, getting to know them and having them, you ask questions, talk to them about their passions, because at least in my undergrad starting out, I didn't realize that a lot of our professors do like research, which I think it's an easy thing to forget. You think, oh, they're just teaching us, which is really important, obviously. We're going to college, you want them to be good teachers, but they also have their own passion. So like Dr. Ike's really into sustainability. Dr. McKinney's been researching that firefighting glove, has a huge grant to do that. So we are, and Dr. Neem with entrepreneurship. So even just looking at like what are they interested in and their skills that you may actually also have an interest in, and reaching out to them and be like, reaching out to Dr. Ike if you're super into sustainability. She's done so much research on it and has so much passion about it. So even getting to know their passions and tying in your passions with them can really broaden your horizon.
That's awesome. Thank you for that response. And just to wrap things up a little bit here, this is just plain and simple. For the students watching, Emily, what would your advice be to those who are interested in AESHM or anything that AESHM has to offer?
Just get involved. Don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to get to know your professors. Do your best work. Every single project you are doing is something that can go into your portfolio. It's not just a homework assignment. It's not just something to get your degree. It's something that can get you your job. So having that attitude with every single project you are completing, that this someday can get my job. And then as I said, reach out. There's so many opportunities you may not even be aware of, or if you're hesitant for joining, trend or the fashion show, to just do it. Which, stealing that slogan a bit from Nike, but that really is, it's just do it. If you want to do the pitch contest, do it. Like anything that you kind of have an inkling for that might be scary, you might have to meet new people, get out of your comfort zones, but at the end of the day, doing those things will really help shape your college experience and shape you as a professional.
I agree. And what would your advice be to students who are also interested in Iowa State and AESHM, our department as a whole?
I would say that we have biased a bit, but we have the best program. And you can look, if you want to, not a biased opinion, you can look it up. We have one of the best programs. So whether that's, product development, merchandising, design, we are so blessed to have all those three options. But the professors, I feel like they make such a difference. Like you can look at, okay, they offer these classes, which we do offer a wide range of classes that you can compare classes, but the professors we have and like how down to earth and how much they want you to succeed in that passion there. And also kind of how we talked about before, I think a lot of people might be a bit hesitant about coming to Iowa. I won't lie. I for sure was like, you don't really hear about Iowa much, but I think that's one of the selling things for me. Ames is like its own community of Iowa State students. And, we hear it with our football team. We talk about the culture. You don't need the 5-star players, you need the 5-star culture. And that doesn't just apply to our football team. That applies to our whole entire university. The passion, the amazing opportunities, whether it's in the AESHM program or out of it. There's so many things for you to get involved in so many ways to make great friends who will impact you forever. So, I'm continuing my college here. I love Iowa State. I never want to leave Iowa State. They really care about their students.
I agree.
That's one of the big selling things. They want you to succeed, and they're open to change. I think that's also a huge thing. We see the push for like entrepreneurship and, sustainability. Those are all big changes that we hear all the time, but they're actually applying them. They're walking the walk, they're come up with new incentives, whether it's with our busing system or recycling programs. And even with entrepreneurship, so many colleges are embracing it in all different types of forms. So the Cyclones are definitely the best, and so is our program.
Awesome, and very well said, Emily. That's all I have. Thank you for sharing a little bit about you and your passions. I know that students watching or students who will watch in the future are going to take all the words that you have and give Iowa State the credit and the try it deserves.
Yeah, I agree. The credit.
So, yes. Thank you very much, Emily. Yeah, of course. Thanks everybody for watching. For more information about Awesome at Iowa State, you can head over to awesomeaeshm.hs.iastate.edu. And if you want to find us on social media, you just have to search us up, AESHM, and we'll be right there. So Emily, once again, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yep. We'll see you next week with another episode of That's Awesome, the podcast.